Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
This is a movie that tells us about Alan Turing, someone who I had a vague recollection of, and I knew the name and some of the details. Fills us in on all of that, which is really fascinating stuff. But it's also Joan's story, who is your character.
A little bit.
Well, a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's a really interesting story, I thought, because Alan's story is one of gay rights not yet happened, but it's the inklings of that, of living a secretive life both personally and professionally. Joan's living under a different sort of repressive thing where she is a brilliant mathematician, but her parents would rather she lived at home because she's not married and things.
Yeah.
Tell me, was that, but playing this character with obvious intelligence, with a desire to break out of the confines of her kind of, I think, drab life, is that something that drew you into this?
Well, I think actually all of the thing with the parents isn't true, and it was all added after I'd said yes to the role. And it was I wanted to be a part of it, and I think everybody is the same. Was because particularly as British people, we felt like this was a very important story to tell, and a very important person to be who'd really been forgotten in many ways, and sort of and so I think we all just wanted to be part of trying to get that story out there. I think as far as Joan went, as much as this is a dramatization, it's not a documentary.
Yeah.
So and a lot of things within her story have been made up. So the whole parent thing actually wasn't true. They were completely supportive of her going, and had been very supportive of her being. I think she was at Oxford. Was she at Oxford or Cambridge? It's terrible. I can't remember. I don't know.
Let's say Oxford.
But I think what's interesting from a feminist point of view is that her actual fight was against the fact that she couldn't get into the room, even though she was one of the most highly qualified and most brilliant people. Which that's the reason that we've kind of added things in to try and tell that kind of she couldn't get where she was meant to be, and they wouldn't allow her to because they thought that she should be a secretary, and she had to spend at least a year kind of doing secretarial duties before they could get her in there. And even when she did get in there, she was paid a fraction of what all of the men were paid, which is still what feminists are arguing about today. Is you need equal pay. So actually, in that way, it's still a very current issue. In the same way that as much as gay rights have moved on hugely from the 40s and 50s, it's still an issue.
Well, I think so. I mean, this is a big, handsome biography, period piece, but it felt very contemporary to me because of the way that it treats its characters. There are more people on the outside of any circle than there are those on the inside, so there are more outsiders amongst us than anyone else.
Yeah.
And so when you look at Alan Turing, who may have had some personality quirks that made him difficult to be around, possibly, but there were more of him than there were of the people that were judging him, I think.
Yeah. I mean, yes, always. And I think that's the reason why everybody can always identify with the story of the outsider, is because it doesn't matter who we are, we always feel that we are the outsider. That idea of normal is always something that is so constricting, and yet, whatever it is, I mean, it seems to be completely irrelevant, and you can never actually be a part of it or get anywhere near it. So but I think equally that it's a story of the terror of prejudice, really, and the fact that we're very frightened by people who are different, and we try and extinguish them, and we try and put them down, and how dangerous that can be, and that we have to find a way to celebrate differences, otherwise you can destroy some very beautiful things.
On a much more practical kind of level, it's a period piece. The clothes are fantastic. The whole feel of the piece really transports you back to the early 1940s. When you're making something like this, does literally putting on the clothes, does it make a difference to you? Does it help you find the character? Does it help you find the way of sitting differently?
And their physicality. I mean, weirdly with Joan, it was very important to have a cardigan and not a jumper, because the cardigan you could wrap, and the jumper you can't. You're much more open with a jumper than you are with it. So that whole, any small things like that, whether it's shoes that are ever so slightly too small, so that you can't, anything that just gives you that kind of character quirk is always helpful.
Yeah. What do you hope people take away from the Imitation Game?
What do I hope people take away? I think they'll take away an awful lot. I mean, so far talking to people have just been like, I didn't know anything about this, and this is a fascinating story. And I think also, to begin that, to carry on that dialogue about prejudice and about homophobia, I think is always incredibly important.
Thank you.